What's up fam, it's your boy Goldy and I'm back with you with a video about Hearthstone and the struggles of Hearthstone for free-to-play players such as myself and perhaps yourself. So the community is basically at the moment in an uproar. It's all over Reddit saying that the game is too expensive, and I have to agree with them. They are right. One of the most common complaints about Hearthstone is the game's price. Not only card games are expensive if you want to keep up with the new releases. You know, ask any veteran Magic the Gathering player out there. But funnily enough, free-to-play players that play these games are often force you to spend more money than the games you actually pay for up front. So yeah, you theoretically play those games for free, but you need to prepare for a massive grind of resources of all kinds. But don't worry, game developers hear you. You have a very convenient potion. You don't want to grind. You can just spend real money instead. Get out the credit card, boys. This kind of free to play, but if you don't throw cash our way, prepare for hundreds of hours of extra grind. Games are especially popular on the mobile devices, among more casual players, you know, and often those not familiar with how the gaming market should look like. And sadly for us, Hearthstone is one of those games. It was designed as a free-to-play mobile game right from the start, and if this model works for a number of other games, why wouldn't Blizzard adopt it? And yes, the game is expensive, utterly expensive. Almost any player is going to tell you that. The exact figures, however, are different depending on who you ask or what you've read. I've heard some people claiming that buying pre-order is enough to keep up with the game, although others have countered that you need to spend hundreds of dollars per expansion. Even better, I've read some opinions that the game can be played 100% free to play while maintaining a decent collection. So, which one is right? How expensive is Hearthstone? Those figures I mentioned come from a simple issue. Hearthstone expansion is not binary. You can't own it or not own it. This was kind of true with adventures, but they're no longer supported and have been removed from the game, which I am completely mad about. You buy packs give you cards, and only you can determine what part of the expansion you need to enjoy the game. People claiming that the game costs hundreds of dollars per expansion are not technically wrong, but they are assuming that everyone aims to get a full expansion, which is simply not true. Having most of the commons, rares, and the best epics and legendaries, which is only about 20 to 30% of the expansion's total number of those highly rare cards, is often enough for an average player to enjoy the game even at a semi-competitive level. Which means that people who say that they can be completely free to play and play the game are right. Theoretically you could keep up with while being completely free to play. After all, it's possible to grind 100 gold a day. If you add on an average 50 gold from quests, that's about 150 gold per day. With about 120 days of time between expansions, theoretically you could save up for up to 180 packs from the upcoming expansion. And there's way more than enough to enjoy the game while not paying at all. But that's only in the best case scenario. In order to achieve that, you have to grind 30 wins every day, and that would take a few hours even for the best players while using an aggressive deck. 70 gold per day is a much more realistic number for an average player, even less for the casual players who just log in every 2 or 3 days, sometimes miss a quest or two because they're too busy to finish them. So taking everything into account, I think that 60 gold a day is a pretty generous average for a casual player, which suddenly brings the number of packs grinded between the expansions from 180 to about 70. And that's the number I can confirm. Most of my friends saving gold between the expansions usually end up with between 60 to 80 gold, and sadly that is not enough. There's also a middle ground option, buying a pre-purchase and nothing more. Pre-purchases cost $50, but the price can often be brought down to $40 or even less thanks to deals like Amazon coins, which sometimes you can buy for up to 25% off. But let's stick to the base price, which is $50. For that kind of money, you'll get 50 extra Hearthstone packs. If you add that to the 70 you should be able to grind over the 4 months, that's 120 packs for the new expansion, and that should be just enough to maintain a solid collection. That's what I was doing ever since TGT, and I can play almost any deck I want. That said, I don't care about golden cards, so if I need some extra dust to craft anything, I just get rid of my goldens. But any other player can do the same, and I will be honest with you, I think that's a pretty fair price with the current model of 3 expansions a year. That's still only $150 per year or $12.50 per month spent on Hearthstone. Given how much we play this game, it's not a very high price. So I'll have to say, through pre-order, it lets you keep your collection on a solid level, it still feels underwhelming. The worst thing about it, or the whole Hearthstone pack opening experience, is randomness. The number and quality of legendaries you open might vary a lot. Sure, there is a pity timer, and it just means that you can't get completely screwed out of your money. After opening 120 packs, one person will have 9 legendaries, including the most meta-defining ones that are needed to play the top tier decks, and another will have 4 legendaries that are all bad and unplayable in any viable deck. That's simply something that should never happen. It's great that we can no longer get duplicates, and it's certainly a step in the right direction, but the fact that there's such a high discrepancy between the best and the worst result makes you pray so you don't get the short end of the stick this time round. But to answer the important question, can you always play the game for free if you grind a lot, or just with the pre-purchase bundle if you are more casual? The answer is no. The system works for me because I'm playing the game since closed beta. I've been there for almost every expansion release, and I've kept up with the game as time has gone by. I've almost every card from the classic set, missing only a few bad epics and legendaries, and I have most important cards from every set that's currently in standard, and the wild ones too. Which means I can actually save gold for a new expansion, don't have to worry about my current collection. But what about someone who just downloaded the game for the first time? Free to play as a new player. Now, that is much more difficult. Even though the game feels generous for the first few hours, you're unlocking more cards, you get pack after pack, free arena run and some dust. Not only that, but you're matched up against people who are playing completely basic decks, who have no idea what they're doing, just like you. But then it goes downhill rather quickly. You switch to rank, you play some games, and after your first initial games at rank 25, you start facing people with better decks, with cards you've never seen before. Even getting to rank 20 is difficult, but past that, almost impossible, not with your basic deck. So you check out some Hearthstone websites and you look for better decks, for strategy guides. You quickly learn that there is no single viable deck that you can actually play because you do not even have any of these cards. So you look for budget decks. Funny thing, you can't even play those because you're stuck with only basic cards and some classic commons rares. You don't enjoy the game because no matter how hard you try, people are still beating you with their fancy legendaries. Which leaves you 3 choices: grind a lot, quit the game, or use your credit card. If someone starts to play the game right now, they have to worry about classic cards, but also 6 extra sets, 5 that are currently in standard, and 1 that's coming soon. Starting at the beginning of the standard cycle is a bit better, but that's still classic plus 4 sets to worry about. One could probably need to focus on classic in the latest standard set, then 2 more that are coming out. There's no way a free-to-play player can invest gold in the last year's set simply because by the time they collect enough cards from them, they will get out of standard. So it basically means that as a new player, in order to build up their collection, you're expected to start playing the beginning of a standard cycle, which is the most optimal time. Playing the game with inferior decks, missing tons of cards that are played in standard, focusing only on the latest sets for a whole year, and only then, when the old sets rotate out, their collection's going to be more or less up to date. That is absolutely insane. The other option is simply paying to catch up. But that's not cheap. Not only classic set is much bigger than an expansion, but a new player owns no cards and has no gold. It means everything has to be bought with money. And without a pre-order, the pack deals are even worse. Even when buying a 60 pack bundle, the cost of a single pack is around $1.17 compared to $1 with a pre-purchase. Even when starting out at the best moment possible, the start of a standard rotation, a new player would need to spend around $120 per expansion and twice that on the classic, so approximately $700 in order to catch up. And if you would expect that this kind of money will give you every card in the game, sadly, you're wrong. It will be just enough to get a playable collection that you can play most of the meta decks in. Want to play off-meta stuff? Spend twice that. Want to play wild? Spend even more. Given the majority of the players not only don't have that kind of money to spend on the game, but why would they drop a few $100s in a game that they haven't even played yet? So does it make sense for Blizzard to price the game so high if 99% of the people won't be able to afford it? Sadly, again, the answer is yes. Yes, it does make sense. It's because of one group of customers, the so-called whales. Alright, so what is a whale? Okay, I'm not talking about the aquatic mammals playing Hearthstone in their free time. So what's going on? To put it simply, whales are people that make the whole free-to-play system look like it looks like now. They are people that have a very big gaming budget, much bigger than the average person, and they decide to spend it on a free-to-play game. Have you noticed like the price of gems, diamonds, or whatever the premium currency is in mobile games is so high that you would need to spend hundreds of dollars to actually get something out of them? Yeah, that's because there are people who spend that kind of money. I personally know someone who will spend like $300 to $400 a month on free-to-play mobile games, and they're only small fish. When it comes to Hearthstone, a whale doesn't care that much about the price. They want to have the full collection, often with the full golden cards in their collection. And they'll spend even thousands of dollars to achieve that. Whales are the main source of income of free-to-play games, including Hearthstone. For every 99 people that spend no money or just buy the pre-purchase, there is one person out there that will drop enormous amounts of money into each expansion. On the other hand, if you're a completely free-to-play player, this system is great for you. It means that you can play the game for free, devs earn their money, and everyone is happy. However, it also means that the prices are usually adjusted for those whales, not for the average player. It means that people who want to spend some money but aren't actually whales get the short end of the stick. Let's say that you want to buy 100 Hearthstone packs. It's actually not that much in hindsight. It's far from getting every card from an expansion, but in order to do that, you need to pay $120. That's the price of 2 new AAA titles or 4 to 5 AAA games a few months after their release, after they go on their first sales. And in Hearthstone, that's from a full expansion worth of stuff. But is there anything that can be done without that model? Is there any way to make Hearthstone more friendly for anyone who is not a whale? So, potential solutions. There are some. And there are actually many ways to do it. But first things first, you need to understand that there always will be some sort of entry barrier into a card game. Unless you plan on making the game completely free, you can't completely expect to have a huge collection right off the bat when you first start playing. You also need to understand that Blizzard or any other company releasing a free-to-play game will always adjust their prices to whales and cater for them since they're their main source of income. You can't make the game too free-to-play friendly because then there would be little or no incentive to spend money. Knowing that your other option is grinding for a few months is a pretty big incentive to spend money. But if you would be able to get all the cards you need very quickly just by playing the game, the number of paying customers would drastically go down. But it doesn't mean that everything has to stay the way it is. There are many things that can be done to improve their free-to-play experience in Hearthstone, especially the experience of new players because they're struggling most with the current model. As an extra note, I'm not saying that each one of these solutions should be implemented, I'm just giving you some ideas. So, idea number 1, let's add some more free and basic cards. Free cards pretty much are limited to the basic set. While we do get some legendaries for free with the new sets, that's not exactly what I mean. My point is that basic sets should be bigger, or that each expansion should have its own basic set. The first idea is pretty simple. Basic is very small when compared to Classic, and the cards that are very underwhelming so that the deck building options are extremely limited. What if we took some of the staple cards from the classic set and added it to the basic set instead? Yeah, so the issue here is that the basic set is meant to be new player friendly without any complicated cards and mechanics. That's not a problem. Those cards could just be unlocked over time. Like, for example, some of them would unlock after reaching level 10 with every class. Others would get unlocked after getting one class to level 20. Another after finishing the first arena run. Not only would it make the early experience better because there would be more goals to aim towards, it would actually increase the number of early deck building options. Or for the sake of consistency, we could just leave those cards in the classic and reward them for finishing those tasks. Another idea is to make more basic sets, and hear me out, it's not as complicated as it might sound. Adventures were scrapped, but the new expansion still getting some PvE content which rewards with packs and a random legendary. What if instead of that, each expansion you get a free part where you unlock by finishing an adventure? It would work like Adventures used to, but the cards unlocked would be only a small part of the whole expansion. Let's say that 150 card expansion would have 30 free cards from Adventure. Not only would it make free-to-play players experience much better, they could also have access to cards from the set without buying anything, but those free cards could be used to showcase some of the expansion's unique mechanics. Most of the expansion would still need to be unlocked through packs, which means that the sale wouldn't go down by much, but now a new player would actually have some cards to work with, some sort of base to build upon. I'd go even further. Playing around with some of the cards from the latest expansion with the new cool mechanics might make some people want to buy more packs from the expansion just to get more cards. Another idea would be to add more milestones, because they already have some milestones in Hearthstone already. They're usually the hidden quests, unique quests, or achievements. Well, naming isn't important here, or get some kind of small reward, like usually a card pack or 100 gold for achieving something. For instance, like if you unlock every hero, or disenchanting your first card, or collecting every basic card, so basically leveling every class up to 10, etc. Those are small rewards, but they're really helpful in the beginning. However, after your first day or two, you no longer get them. The only real rewards that are for winning like 100 games or 1,000 games, and for collecting every classic card. The last one's kind of pointless as it only gives you 100 gold and it's kind of incredibly hard to achieve. The ones for 100 or 1,000 wins are pretty cool, but they're definitely not enough. There should be way more milestones with a different kind of rewards for finishing each kind of task. You could add 50, 250 and 500 win milestones, and maybe even something past 1,000. You could even add arena related milestones for getting your first 6, 9 or 12 wins. The last could give you like a unique card back like the legendary one in Constructed, or maybe make a harder one for getting 9 wins with each class. There could be a collection related milestone giving you some extra dust. Own 5, 10, 20, 40 or whatever number of legendaries, perhaps something different like kill 1,000 minions, deal 5,000 damage to the enemy hero. Those milestones would naturally get unlocked over time. And what's the point? First of all, it would make the game more enjoyable. Statistics are fun, and knowing that not only have you achieved something, but it also got rewarded for it feels great. Then it would also improve the new player's progress. Right now, you are greeted by lots of free gold and packs, but it stops very quickly. The trend should continue. Although slower, at the very least you should be consistently getting to some milestones for the first week or two. It also would mean that more experienced players, especially those who have already hit Legend, had some goals to work towards, like, oh, I still need to have 9 wins with Warrior and Priest for my milestone. I'll try them out in Arena and see how it goes. Having goals is cool, and if you already got the max rank possible, you kind of don't feel like grinding the ladder so much anymore. So another idea would be to give out more free packs and resources. Hearthstone is one of the least generous free-to-play games I've ever played. I am a big fan of multiple mobile games, and I have to say that Blizzard is pretty stingy about giving out free stuff. Many of the hyped up popular games I'm enjoying on my phone are giving out way more stuff for free than Hearthstone. And I'm not even mentioning the competing card games, which aren't even very relevant yet, but that might change in the future. Of course, we need to be reasonable. I'm not thinking that, you know, they'd give away 50 packs just like that, but there are always some ways that they could do giveaways without really hurting the business. One of those would be like, increase the rewards for the first Tavern Brawl. Tavern Brawl was a good idea and a huge success. Not only does it add a fun mode to the game where people can just play around and not really care about winning or losing, but also the one extra pack per week is a great way to make your classic collection bigger. It doesn't seem like much, but some players have already earned over 100 classic packs from the brawls. That's pretty significant. But if you're a new player that just starts the game and you've already missed so many free packs, so what if, to offset the fact that your first, let's say, 5 Tavern Brawls awarded 3 packs instead of 1, it would lead to new players not exactly catching up, but getting 10 extra packs for free. It really wouldn't hurt anyone, but it would speed up the new players' progress a bit. Okay, and another way would be like to have more events, like for example the Fire Frost festivals we had before Knights of the Frozen Throne. Those was fun! Double gold from the quest during the Fire Festival felt really good. On average, players would probably snatch 700 to 800 extra gold from the first whole event, which isn't enormous but felt good. The Frost Festival was also cool, pun not intended, with free arena runs and every arena run starting at 1 win. It gave more incentive to play that mode, and there are many more things that, you know, they could focus on as well. So like maybe a wild event where you get 10 gold per win instead of per 3 wins, with the cap staying at 100 gold of course. Or maybe an event during which you could get 2 quests per day instead of 1, and class quests which can be finished with any class. I'm not a game designer and I'm absolutely sure that they can come up with multiple things, and repeating events isn't bad either. When they run out of ideas, they could just reuse the old ones, maybe with a slight twist. Make daily login rewards a thing for more than just a week before an expansion. I really like the daily login rewards we had before Ungoro. It was a more interesting way to give away free stuff, plus it incentivized players to log on. I think that such a system implemented into the game would be great. Of course, the rewards wouldn't need to be that big. Let's say a 28-day format where you get a small reward like 15 gold, dust, a random common or rare, with a bigger reward every 7 days, like perhaps a card pack, an arena ticket, random epic, and a bigger reward after you finish the whole 28-day cycle. Perhaps 3 card packs, maybe a random legendary. Of course, the individual awards would have to be adjusted so Blizzard wouldn't lose that much, but consistent players would be able to snatch more nice rewards. Such a system incentivizes people to log in daily, and when they log in, they would often stay to finish the quests or to play some games. Now, revamping the quest and reward system. One important thing, why are so many quests and the standard gold game, which is 10 every 3 wins, tied to wins? It's a terrible system. Now, if you're a more experienced player, you might not see the problem, but remember those times when you just wanted to finish that quest quickly, but you hit a losing streak and instead of 3 games, you had to play 12? Yeah, that's exactly how new players must feel about the system. In order to grind gold necessary to improve your collection, you need to win games. And if you want to win the games more consistently, you need to have a better collection. Players who are past the level of playing versus other new players, but are still rocking a nearly full basic deck, will be happy to have a 25% win rate, which will make finishing quests way more difficult and punish gold gain. Quests and the per 3 wins rewards should be about playing the games, not winning them. Instead of win 3 games with Druid, the quest should be play 5 games with Druid. And, you know, similarly, you shouldn't be rewarded per 3 wins, but per 5 games. It's true that new quests are headed in the right direction, but the win quests are still very common and they shouldn't be. The game would also be much more fun. Right now, when you have a 5-win quest, you don't feel like you can play around. You need to try hard in order to actually win those 5 games. You also want to win because you have more gold to get that way. If those would be gone, you wouldn't be punished for just picking your favourite deck and playing the game for fun. You don't care if you win or lose that much if you still finish your quest and you could progress towards that 100 gold daily limit. Another thing that is the rewards themselves are way too low. Casual players end up with a pack per 2 days or something, but I doubt that that will increase the gold rewards, so I wouldn't even try to give any suggestion in that department. A reintroduction to adventures. Adventures were the best way to spend your money. Let's say Karazhan for just $20, which is half of the pre-order price. You've got 45 cards, kind of technically 85 since you get 2 copies of non-legendaries and 5 legendaries, and about half of them were actually viable and playable in meta decks. For that same $20, you can actually buy 15 packs which give you 75 cards in total with only 1 guaranteed legendary. You spend about $20 on an adventure and you have every single card released there. You spend $20 on an expansion and you don't have anything. The main complaint was that the adventures didn't provide enough content. So why not just change their format instead of getting rid of them together? You can make 6 wings instead of 4, add more cards per wing, and easily go up to 80 to 90 cards per adventure. That would be impactful enough, and with a maybe $30 price tag, it'd still be a great deal. Unless not enough content was just PR talk and the real reason was because whales were only paid $20 and not $40, $100, because that would give them every card, which is more likely. And to increase the dust value of cards. Dust values of cards in Hearthstone are incredibly low. While epic and legendaries are still passable because of a 4-to-1 conversion rate, the matter gets worse with rares 5-to-1 and especially commons 8-to-1. I think you need to get rid of the 8 common cards to just craft one single new one. Why would you craft commons, you might ask? There are many reasons actually. If you're a new player and you're missing 4 commons from a certain expansion for your budget deck, you really don't want to open 40 packs and hope that you'll get the cards you need, especially if it's a previous year expansion and it will rotate out soon. But then you need to spend 160 dust for just 4 commons. And in other words, you need to disenchant 32 commons you own to do that. That rate is crazy low. I'm not saying that it should be a 1-to-1 of course, but even increasing the ratio of common and rares to maybe 4-to-1, possibly epics and legendaries to 3-to-1, would make things much easier. But there's another solution that wouldn't impact the overall economy that much, and it would be increasing the dust value of golden cards. Because right now, you can trade golden cards for regular cards with a 1-to-1 ratio, except for commons which have a 1-to-1.25 ratio. But that doesn't seem like too much. Bumping the disenchant value of golden cards would make the crafting experience much better for people who aren't collectors. Given the fact that those cards are pretty rare, changing the ratio to 1-to-2 ratio, 1 gold for 2 regulars, wouldn't make people run with full collections all of a sudden. And it wouldn't affect whales that much, as those players usually want to keep their shiny cards. Discount packs from the previous year's expansion. I'm not even talking about making them cost 50 gold, but discounting them by, let's say, 20% would greatly be better. The discount might grow as the year passed, like they might cost 90 gold with the first expansion of a new standard year, 80 gold with the second, 70 gold with the third. Why? Simply because they're less valuable. Right now, if it's already not worth it to buy packs from the 2016 expansion, simply because they will rotate in about 5 months or so. It feels really bad to buy packs from Gadgetzan if you know that you are simply not going to be able to play with those cards soon. Sometimes, if you want to be competitive, you simply have to. Such a discount would help new players with catching up and would help people refill the gaps in the previous year's collection without feeling that bad about spending gold or money for something that rotates out soon. And we can also make Wild more new player friendly. And why Wild, you may ask? Well, it might seem counterintuitive, but Eternal format is much cheaper than Standard in the long run. It has a higher entry cost, but then it simply doesn't change that much. It's still not that apparent yet, simply because Hearthstone is not that old as, let's say, Magic the Gathering, but it will be very clear in the future. When playing Standard, you craft a deck you love, and it might get obsolete next expansion. That's just how our format works. But in Wilds, you eventually will be able to craft a deck and not worry about anything. Your decks should still be perfectly viable when a new expansion hits. You might want to change a card or two, but that's it. There's already the case with some decks like Reno Lock or Mid-Range Dude Paladin, which aren't always top tier, but are very viable for a few expansions already. It means that free-to-play players would enjoy a Wild format much more, as it would be way easier to keep up with it. Except the fact that getting into Wild is incredibly hard right now. Recently, Blizzard had added Wild packs to the shop for real money, and that's great, definitely a step in the right direction, but why only money? Why can't they be available with gold? If you don't want to spend real money, you basically have to craft all the viable commons and rares, which you would get after opening some packs quite easily. But that's not all. Wild needs more support and more promotion. Maybe more ways to get cards from the old expansion, let's say 5 years from now. With 25 expansions in the Wild, the entry barrier will grow significantly. So maybe discounts on the Wild packs, maybe giving out some Wild packs or cards for free during events. Some ways to make getting into it easier would be appreciated. Oh, and bots. Wild is completely flooded with bots, especially around rank 5 where they hit the wall. While it's not so much a free-to-play problem, it's not fun playing against bots, and that's a really big problem in that format. Less so in standard, but you can also see bots there. And in closing, the worst thing about anything that this game gets gradually more expensive. Releasing expansions every 4 months, getting rid of adventures, adding more legendaries, especially auto-include legendaries that are just simply too good to pass on. I remember the times when a 10k Dust Control Warrior deck was considered the pinnacle of pay-to-win decks. It was nicknamed Wallet Warrior and people laughed. Now half of the meta decks cost 8k plus dust, even with the cheaper Zoo or Aggro Druid builds being at about 5 to 6k. One of my real life friends recently quit Hearthstone after the Journey to Ungaro's release. He opened 110 packs, 50 from the pre-order and 50 from gold, and received 3 useless legendaries and just could not build any deck he wanted. And I really understand him. You grind the game for 4 months, save the gold, you spend an extra $50 out of your own pocket, and then you can't even play anything you want. Do not get me wrong, I love this game. I just want it to get better. Free to play especially, because new players' free to play experience is probably the worst thing about Blizzard's card game. If I have to pick one thing I'd like to see changed, that would definitely be it. And if you made it this far, I do apologise for the length of this video. My throat is actually a little bit sore from talking for so long, so I think I'm just going to end this one very quickly. If this video was helpful, please do like it. I'd love to know your thoughts down below on what you think would improve the current issue of free-to-play players in the Hearthstone game. And please subscribe for more. I'm Goldy, I make videos daily, and with that, I love you very much. Thanks for watching this. I'll see you in the next one. Catch you later, guys. Goldy out. Bye. And the gods will smile.